What a big weekend for PreCure. We PreCure fans are thriving. Hello everyone, it's Leo, and in this video I'm going to talk about episode 12 from Delicious Party PreCure, which is probably one of the strongest episodes in my opinion of this season so far. Very emotional, very powerful. I really enjoyed it, and there are lots of things to talk about. But first, the first thing I want to say is something that I feel is very important to the story overall, which is Rosemary. I'm going to get to Rosemary later, but first, there's another thing. When Rosemary is talking about the brainwashing that is going on with Amane, Rosemary tells the girls that her kokoro is being controlled. Kokoro is a word in Japanese, correct me if I'm wrong please, but it's a word that can mean lots of different things. On Crunchyroll, the subtitles translated it to mind, but kokoro can mean heart, soul, and other things. So it's also a word that can be used to describe someone's essence. So I'm gonna go with essence here with Amane because this episode showed clearly that Amane was going against her essence, against who she is, what she believes in, how she sees the world, just to fulfill her role as Godats's minion. And it was a very powerful portrayal of that, and I felt very, very bad for Amane. So when Rosemary was talking about that to the girls, it was a very sad moment. It was a very sad scene. And we had a moment in which the girls were able to understand how heavy that is. They know, or they actually sense, that Amane is someone who is going against her own essence. And when she is doing that, she is not doing things she loves. She is not doing things that she feels pleasure with. So Yui puts herself in her own shoes and starts noticing how bad a brainwashing can be for someone. You are losing moments of your life and you're doing something that goes against your own essence. And that scene felt so powerful to me because I really love when heroes or heroines are able to put themselves into another person's shoes, and especially if that person is an antagonist, as Gentlu is now. And so they are able to understand how Gentlu is suffering, how hard things are for Gentlu, and how she is having this big and hard time by doing things that are going against her own feelings. And Yui starts imagining herself as like going through something like that, and Kome feels sad, Pum feels sad, Men feels sad, and this feels very believable because we've had a long run working with those characters, both mascots and humans. So that felt very believable. The way they all held their hands together and got together, just to enjoy themselves and feel how they can trust each other and how they are decided into, trying to get Amane back. Very, very powerful scene. I absolutely loved it. So we have a first fighting scene, and it was very nice. It was very fast and very cool. Like the girls actually saw Amane again, and that's when Rosemary started noticing that her brainwashing was strong again. And also important to notice, in the last episode, as the brainwashing was wavering, she did not pour her own energy in the recipe in the bento box to not hurt the recipe. That's what Nasisturu taught her, and that's what she did. She did not put the energy. In this episode, she's totally out of control. So that is what she did. And Yui, as Cure Precious, was always trying to talk to her. She was always trying to get into her mind and to bring her back, but she was not successful. And I really liked the fast pacing of the first fight. The girls feel powerful and useful, and I loved the Cure Precious solo attack in a smaller way, a shorter way. I love how dynamic that felt. Very nice. But in that first moment, Gentlu said that she is Gentlu. This is my real identity. I am Gentlu. I'm not Amane. So you can really see how far the brainwashing goes. And at the same time, we see Rosemary. Rosemary felt very sad for what was going on with Amane. And when Amane said that she was doing what she was doing for Godots, Rosemary was shocked with that information of Godots. And like, Rosemary knows that name. It's not something that just happened and Rosemary just caught the name. No, Rosemary knows Godots. It's part of Rosemary's story somehow. And so as we go on in the episode, Mary is always talking about the fact that this brainwashing, it takes away the person's heart. And if the person stays brainwashed for long, the heart might be lost. And when Mary was saying this, their face was very sad. And I wonder, did they go through this? Mary mentioned, there are two things important to mention about Mary. They mentioned once that they had a master prior to this. And in the second episode, Mary was very clear about the mother figure, how you should cherish your mother. Maybe something happened to Mary's mother or Mary's master. I'm leaning more towards the mother. Maybe the mother was brainwashed and having her heart taken away for so long changed her forever, changed her essence forever, and Mary lost their mom. This is something that I feel might be a good lead for Mary's tragic background story. But focusing on this episode, I really liked the dynamic and I really liked Ran's plan to get Gentlu back because it was like kind of smart of Ran. And this is something I'm noticing. Those cures that are usually like very hyper and full of energy, they have a special type of intelligence and they are showcasing this with Ran. Ran is very intelligent. In terms of grades at school, probably Kokone is the most intelligent one, but Ran is always showcasing her intelligence in such creative ways. And in this episode, it was interesting too, posting it on Curista again and Gentlu falling for that very fast. Very, very nice. So when they got into that moment and entered the delicious field to go against Gentlu, that moment was like the epitome of this episode for lots of reasons. So Gentlu was so focused on getting that SCPP and giving it to Godots that she created an Ubauzo. And it was so against her own essence that the Ubauzo was attacking the restaurants, something that the Ubauzos never did. And Rosemary was quick to create a delicious field so that the girls would protect the city, and that's what they did. They started fighting. The fighting scene was big, and there were interesting things. The first one is that Gentlu actually went to start fighting. And the second one is Spicy and Yum Yum fought against the Ubauzo, and it felt very nice. So we had the fight against the Ubauzo. Really liked how both Spicy and Yum Yum were able to fight together. Spicy carrying Yum Yum a little bit. Girl, that scene was everything. I loved that. And, and Rosemary even acknowledged how strong they were. And like, you were getting stronger. Time is going by. You were learning your ways as cures. Loved that moment so, so, so much. On the other hand, we had Gentlu fighting against Precious, and Gentlu was very angry. Precious was always trying to talk to her, was always trying to get to her essence, but it was hard for Precious. She was not able to. And I feel like this is the only thing I didn't really enjoy, because villains turning good or villains going against their own essence is not new to PreCure. It's not a new concept. Even though the way they're dealing with Amane feels very fresh, I think, it's still not a new concept as a concept. And we've had that in the past. And PreCure is very different from what it was before, and that is definitely not a problem. But I really loved when they were able to go full on, hand to hand, against the villains. Even if they thought that there was a good heart behind it, they were not afraid to throw some punches in the villains. And Precious was not fighting back. She just wanted to talk. And I feel like this is the new PreCure, the new mode of PreCure. And I don't think that's a problem, but I liked how things were before. You know, Cure Peach was not afraid of throwing hard punches against Ease in Fresh PreCure, for example. I really loved those moments, you know, and I understand Precious was not able to do everything she wanted to do in this fight because, well, she knew that there was something going on with Gentlu's heart, and she knew that Gentlu did not really want to do that. And, well, she cares about Amane behind. I understand. But at the same time, even though the Cures were throwing punches and fighting very strongly in the past, we also believed that even though they were in an intense battle, they also believed in their antagonists too. You know, we can buy that, toy animation. We can buy that, so bring it to us. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it kind of matters to me. That was the only downside. But, like, on the other hand, I feel like there were so many other great moments here. So, in one side, we have Rosemary jumping in and protecting Cure Precious. That scene was everything. Girl, I loved that moment so much. You know, Rosemary putting their hands in front and, you know, getting ripped apart just to protect Precious against Gentlu's attack. Love that moment so much. And I like how Precious stood up and told Mary, believe in me. I like that about Precious. I love that about Precious. It's not the first time she does it. And when she says something like that, she fulfills it. She goes through it until the end. And that's what she did this time around. So we have that little card from the Kasai, the Fruits Parlor. Love it. Love that Mary was there in the Fruits Parlor. The Fruits Parlor looks very pretty. Like that a lot. And I like how Mary is someone who is very active. And their role in the season is big. You know, it's important. They're always going for things. You know, they're doing things that matter in the season. So I'm very thankful for Mary's character. I love them so much. And there was this card. We couldn't see what was in the card for most of the episode. And when we saw, it was actually a recipe that Amane drew when she was younger. So this means that she can see recipes. This means that she cares about recipes. And the girls understand that. And the girls follow through with that. And the girls help her with that. They know her feelings towards it. So that's what they do. And she starts breaking little by little, and the power and the words that the Cures use for her are able to waver the brainwashing once more, but not completely. And it kind of wavers, and at the same time it's wavering, she is able to plead them to help her. That was such a powerful thing. Oh my God, I loved it so much. But another thing I didn't really like, so there was this dark energy in the format of a heart that was basically controlling her. And the dark energy went out of her to the Ubaozo. And I felt that was very convenient. And I know there are lots of conveniences in a show like PreCure. I understand it. But this convenience, girl, it could have stayed in Gentlu. And they could have fought against her. It would have been way cooler. You know, it would have been way better. They could have fought against her. They could have used their upgraded powers against her, which were super, super cool, by the way. They have those minor powers. They became stronger this episode because their will was stronger to save someone. So far, they've been saving food. Now they're saving a person. So it's different. The weight is different. And so I really loved it. And they also were able to join powers and use the heart juice and mixer attack for the first time. Talking about the attack very fast, I liked it. It was better than Yum Yum's attack. It was better than Precious's attack. But it was not better than Spicy's solo attack, in my opinion. I think it's a good attack. I think it's a good group attack, but I still feel like Spicy's solo attack with the Heart Juicy Mixer is better. Cure Spicy, always a queen. And they were able to defeat this dark heart and the mind controlling, the soul controlling, the heart controlling energy, the essence controlling energy simply disappeared, and Amane was taken back. And another thing that I forgot to mention, close-ups in this episode were so well drawn, so beautifully drawn. I loved it so much. It was really incredible. Like visually, it was really incredible. And so yeah, I think this episode has a big importance in the show. As I said, the only things I did not like were those things that they cannot fight against Gentlu. They do not have the power or the energy or the soul to fight against Gentlu. Come on, they could have fought against her. It would have been way cooler. But seeing Gentlu fight was very cool as well. But to know more about Amane and how she cares about the recipes was very cool. And I really love how this episode worked with the brainwashing thing and how this is an awful thing to do with someone, and the girls noticed how bad it was if it happened to them in their own lives, in their own environments. I really love it. It was really incredible. And there's obviously another thing that I did not talk about, which is Takumi. Takumi is worried about Rosemary. He talked about it in episode 11, and now in this episode he saw that Rosemary was with the girls, and when he saw that, he was like, oh my god, Rosemary, they're doing something to Yui, what's going on here? And they ended up entering the delicious field. Rosemary noticed that they entered the delicious field, but Rosemary didn't say anything. Spicy, I think it was Spicy who noticed that Rosemary was looking, and she mentioned, but Rosemary did not want to talk about it. And Takumi was there in the back. Like, there is something in his hand, and he probably has to give that to Rosemary based on episode summaries. He's going to give that to Rosemary next episode. It's his father's, but we don't know what's going on. All we know is that it seems to Takumi that he thinks Rosemary is making Yui do something bad. I think that might be a catalyst for him to become his magical self, because he wants to protect Yui, and that will give him powers, and he will become Black Pepper. I'm very excited about his identity. And obviously, another high point of this episode to me was Rosemary themselves. I think it was great how they were dealing with the brainwashing thing. It was also a nice narrative point to pinpoint how bad the brainwashing was for Amane. If it wasn't for Rosemary, I think the girls wouldn't have understood it, and the narrative became stronger because Rosemary pinpointed it out lots and lots of times. And there is also, it feels to me, this is a theory, there is a reasoning for Rosemary to feel this is so bad. And I believe this reasoning is going to be explained later. This is part of Rosemary's story. This is part of their journey in the story of Delicious Party, before the story of Delicious Party began. And so I believe this is going to this weighs heavily on them because something happened in the past with this power of brainwashing, this power of becoming someone else. And now my theory is that this happened to Godats. That is why Godats is doing this, because Godats' true heart, Godats' true essence was lost, because their essence was corrupted in the first place, and they kept on being corrupted for so long that it ended up happening. I don't know, I believe Godats might be Rosemary's mentor. Theories, and more theories. Anyways, babies, this is all for now. This is my view on episode 12. What are your thoughts on this amazing episode of Delicious Party PreCure. What are you thinking about it? Anyways, just want to take this little time to thank the members of the Magical Cinnamon channel. If you are a member, thank you very, very much for your support. Thank you for standing by Magical Cinnamon. And if you've watched up to channel, thank you so much as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.